Hello, welcome to the Swatches live stream. I'm Clint, and this is Diana. We're excited to have you join us for this episode. We're going to be continuing our review of submitted portfolios and artwork. And if you want to send yours in as well, then you can just go to swatchesdiscord.com and you can you've got to become a member if you're not already a member of the Discord. It will have you, probably you just need to go to the general chat and say hi in order to get through the, prove you're not a robot pass. Then you can put it in the video critique submissions. It's completely free. Anyone is welcome to put their stuff out there. And if you do, try to put a comment like these people have and let us know a little bit about what you're trying to do with your art, maybe kind of direction you're trying to go, or if there's something particular about your art that you know is an issue but you don't know how to resolve. Any kind of feedback like that is usually helpful. But we're going to be looking at 6 of them today, and if you are wanting to get your stuff reviewed, then there is room for next week. There's only 2 extras, I think, submitted for next week.
Yeah, I think if you submit your work soon, you'll get into the next session because there's only been 2 so far for that session, so there's still room.
Now, if we don't get a full plate of 6 for next week, we might delay it 1 week. But if we do get enough, then we'll just do another episode next week. And if you guys have any questions as we're going, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll keep an eye on the chat.
Oh, hello, everybody in the chat.
Yes.
I see so many familiar names. Thanks for coming and supporting us. We appreciate it.
Okay. We are going to start over here with Emmy.
Emmy, if you're here, I can't tell, but if you are, post in the chat, let us know. If you have any specific questions or comments, just put them in there so that we can read them while we're reviewing your work.
And if we run into any technical difficulties, this is a stream. Sometimes things come up. Please let us know. Just type it in the chat.
Yeah,
so
like
we're
if there's
aware.
something weird about the sound or the video.
Yep. Okay. So with Emmy, actually, I did not leave the tab open earlier. Let me just click on that.
Oh, okay.
I will pull it off. I'd like to start by just going to their website and looking at what they have out here. And we'll take basically a broad look at the portfolio. Then we can move into looking at maybe specific things that they can do for a particular piece or 2 in order to improve things. So aiming at TTRPGs, related properties like Dungeons and Dragons. The subject-wise looks good. Completely fits within that genre. And okay, I like that you don't have just every piece possible in the portfolio. Like you do have another category for older works. I'm not even going to look at those if they're not part of your current main gallery. And all of these, they have a good read. It's clear what I'm looking at. All right, so what was your question here, your statement? Currently live in Bulgaria, finished material rendering. Well, appreciate you. We're going through that course. You want to pursue TTRPGs, MTG, book cover, fantasy stuff, prop illustrations. Okay. All right, well, that seemed pretty much what we were getting in the portfolio.
So I'm assuming that the materials course was self-study, right? So this was the final. So that looks great.
Yeah, this is a really nice piece. Okay, top level, what I'm seeing is good subject matter. I feel like you understand this subject. And you're somebody who is familiar with TTRPGs. I would, as a company, trust you to understand this subject. I am getting probably an overuse of black. A lot of these just are coming off quite dark. I mean, I'll even raise my screen a little bit, but I think they're probably a bit on the dark side. Heavy darks in here, like these are all almost just black silhouetted. So again, like lots of blacks. That would be one thing that you may want to try to move away from, is how much really dark black usage you're doing. And you're tackling some really complex things. Like just overall, this is a 5-person interior scene. This is really difficult to do well. Going forwards, I think there needs to be more time spent in the composition, the planning, the image. Because like for an image like this, what we really care about is like their expressions. It's easy to see what's happening. Right now the focus is literally the map. If I think we could get a lot closer to these characters.
I think the camera position is not ideal.
We can move the camera down 3 feet and get about 2 or 3 feet closer, just like right here, and look down the table, and we get everybody coming down. These people would take up more of the frame, because right now there's a quarter of the frame down here, or 20% really is redundant. And then the top 20% is kind of redundant.
I feel like we're not seeing as much of their faces as we should be seeing. So we're seeing 2 of them from the back, and then the other ones we're not getting that close. So these are kind of obscured. So we're really only seeing that one, and she's far away.
Well, this is one of the problems, right, that you run into when you are placing the camera above their face. It's really hard to get the faces and the expressions when you're looking down on them.
I know why you did it, because you wanted to fit everything, the whole table, into frame. It's also really difficult with a vertical crop, and maybe that was not your choice. Maybe it was a requirement. But this is part of the challenge, right? It's like, okay, we've got to do a vertical crop of what is essentially a horizontal scene.
Yeah.
And trying to show as much of the characters as we could. Sometimes we've got to play with the positioning. Maybe they can't all be equally distributed around the whole table. Maybe there's got to be more of them on one side of the table. And we get the camera closer to them so we can see more of the faces. I'm not going to say, again, I'm not going to say 3D is the solution. But if it was me and I had a 5-character scene, I would get in Daz and throw 5 dolls around a table and get my camera in the crop that I need to have. And
move the camera around and see what options you have. And I would just
position it and try a couple, like 4 or 5 different ways before I start even painting anything. Okay,
so let's move on. Again, another complex scene. I feel like this one...
This is really charming. This is really similar to that piece that you did.
Yeah, which isn't out yet.
Oh, well, it got spoiled online. It's not officially out, but it leaked somehow.
Okay, so for this, posing is excellent. I think the overall scene read of this is good. This is a very straightforward composition for the scene, which is what you need for a scene like this. All right, this is something that I think students don't get sometimes. One of the biggest issues is learning when you need to do the straightforward thing and when you need to go a little more complex, a little more advanced with it. Like this one, this is straightforward. I immediately understand the scene and what's playing out, but it's not effective on a character level. Like as an image, it's not engaging. So anytime that you put the camera in a third-person view, this is what it is, then you're sacrificing the emotional connection for overall clarity of the scene. You clearly understand what is occurring, but you're too far away to be emotionally invested. Now, this one is the other way around. It's kind of in between, where we're close enough that I can read their expressions, and it's okay that it's flat, because that's not the point. This is one I feel like we are getting too dark in some of this. We're getting jet black shadows in areas that are not occlusion shadows.
This is a really charming scene.
Yeah.
I would expect it to have more color because it looks lighthearted and fun. There's fun things going on. They're having a good time, and it's just kind of muddy for the tone that you're trying to do. I would consider getting more of the local values or the local colors into everything back in.
For this, in order to address that, when you think about lighting and shading this scene, just imagine that there is another light source behind the camera. Right now, we're kind of treating it like this is the only light in the entire scene. And that's fine to have an edge light and backlight these two, that's fine. But there needs to still be more fill light. And we don't have to say what it is. There's just something back here.
It could be like a chandelier or something in this pub or tavern.
But just something that is going to add more fill light on this side of the characters so it evens out that contrast. Okay, another one. Again, we're getting heavy shadows. I think here we're getting too far away from good references. Where a good reference for the lighting and the color combination for big scenes like this. Some individual parts look good to themselves, but like we're getting, like yellow is one of the colors that falls off very quickly. It's one of the weakest colors, so at a distance, at that distance, it's unlikely you're going to get something that yellow. And then we're just getting really dark here. Compositionally, again, I think this is one of those where we could probably get the characters a little tighter, get closer to the characters, because right now most of the scene is just about this, and that's not nearly as interesting as they are.
We're not getting enough of a payoff from this. We're also getting kind of like a split canvas, half and half. So half is mountains and half is people.
And it falls right along that river.
Yeah. So this one is, there's a compositional issue here. And it's like, what is this scene about? It's about this group of characters going somewhere, reaching someplace. It looks like, I don't know if they're going here or if they're going there. It's not clear because you've kind of got two locations and some of them are looking this way, some of them are looking that way, so don't quite know. A scene like that would be more effective if we were closer to the people.
Okay, I do want to say this is nice. I feel like this has your highest level of rendering of any of the pieces. You're
and
really
we're not just
dialing
saying
in.
that because of the course, all right?
No, it really does. It has the most believability. It feels like everything has been addressed to a higher degree.
I think you took a lot of care with each aspect of it.
Okay, I pulled over one piece, two piece, this piece.
I don't know.
Okay, I pulled this one in Photoshop. I ran some edits on this. Okay, this is one of those classic TTRPGs group illustrations.
Yeah, they're standing around the bonfire. That's a classic scene.
Okay, so here is one of the cases where the elements are good, right? You got the right flavors in the dish, but they're not in the right proportion. Some flavors are really not landing yet because they're too weak. Others are too strong. So what we need to do is rebalance some of this. What catches me, and why I say this, is the amount of kind of unused space. There's a lot of space in this image that really isn't being used. Yeah, the columns back there are telling me a little bit. Then there's just a lot of room, or you can think about it in terms of islands, where each character is kind of an island. And they don't really overlap with each other. We got a little overlapping right here,
We
which
see
is
this
nice.
a lot. So anyone watching this, this is something good to look at your own work and see, like, are all my elements in my scene just little islands that don't touch or don't overlap? Because that's like a classic thing we see in ineffective scenes.
Now let me pull. Now these are more of action scenes for D&D groups, but generally when you have a D&D party, whether it's action or whether it's them like reclining and stuff, You need to pack them closer together than you think. This is one of those things. It's like movie making, where people, if you're going to show something, like if you're going to show a product on camera, like if I'm naturally going to hold this up, I'm going to hold it up right here, but that doesn't look great on camera. I need to hold it right here. This looks good on camera, but it's closer than you would naturally hold it. And that we have to do the same thing with this. We're posing everybody a little closer than you would naturally sit, maybe next to somebody. It's that sort of thing. It's this sort of thing, right? You're really just throwing them together. So that's what I wanted to address. Getting something more in this vein. Why? The characters. This scene is all about the characters. Yeah. That's what we care about. No, I'm not redrawing or repainting these. I tinted this one a little bit to get her more in shadow. And I'm not saying this is finished. It does need to be rebalanced with some of the colors and the values since we shifted things some. But we can see how much more we get out of this scene.
It feels more like we're there with them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we become one of the participants. I'll just run you through real quickly kind of how we work through this. First thing it has to do is just isolate everybody onto their own layer. All right, each aspect, including the fire. And so I just painted them out in the background and adjusting that. Making that tree a little bigger just compositionally helped. In order to get them closer to the camera and get them to show up against this, we need to add more distance.
Yeah, it's a bit dark.
Yep. And then with the position of the characters, it actually works a little better if these go the other way. Because right now, everybody's kind of looking this way at her. And I feel like this just leads you off the scene over here. So by reversing this, it helps
pull you back in.
Yeah, balance out this side. So that's why I flipped that. So this is again, goes to Emmy, but this goes to anyone who's doing D&D group scenes. This is probably one of the most common things that we see, and it usually requires very little repainting, or it's just adjusting position and scales. So, okay.
I hope that was helpful.
Yeah. And the same thing applies to like some of this too. I think we looked at this one earlier. It's like, this is a really great interaction. There's some great things here. Just make them closer to the camera.
Yeah, it's so far away.
Yeah, we could just get them way closer. And I think what you have to do going forwards, if you want to start landing bigger clients, is it's like each one of these things, it's making better use of the composition. So that's more time in the sketching phase before you start painting. It's more attention to the value scheme, that we're not losing all of our hard work in detail. For instance, this, if you print this, unless they're doing a really good printing job, and even if they do the best printing job possible, you're going to get almost no detail on these characters because the values
compress. Yeah. It gets flat. I ran into this problem when I was doing my own printing with certain pieces, and then I would have to go and make adjustments. So
yeah,
even with high quality prints, it's just going to turn into one mass in those areas.
Let's look at Kate's stuff for a second. Kate does some great TTRPG work, individual scenes as well as like book covers. And one of the things that you'll see is like, no matter what the situation is, indoor, outdoor, time of day, always midtones. It's always got lots of midtones because they print well, and they carry color.
It's colorful. It's entertaining when it's. So this is kind of what I was talking about. Maybe not that bright, but for that scene you have with the long table with all the characters doing stuff, having a good time. Should see more of these colors.
Yeah. Again, see how much midtones we're getting. Yeah, things could get dark, or they could get overexposed, but we try to keep it in that printable range where you're still going to get lots of great color and contrast. Yeah. So I would do lots of observations from Kate's work.
Yeah, we love the Burmax.
Both of the Burmax, actually. Yeah, for sure. So, okay, we got to move on. Amy, hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that's helpful as well to, anyone else who's doing that kind of art. And we'll move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Let's acknowledge the chat here. Okay, I'm gonna see Tyler. Hey, Tyler. Good to have you. Marion, Dan. Hey, Dan. Good to see you too. Brandy's back. Good to have you, Brandy.
Where is my...
I think there's no questions right now. I checked everything. So let's move on to the next one.
Okay, the next one is Eleonora. Eleonora said, been working more intensely on developing art skills and career for the last 2 years. Before that, worked as a graphic designer. I feel you. But realized prop and icon design isn't my passion. Wanted to focus more on illustration and splash art. I've had some gigs doing book covers, card art for some indie clients, though you want to aim for things like MTG, D&D. Okay. All right. Again, I didn't open everyone's tab. We'll just take a look at the artwork here. These I just saved off like the first couple of rows of art pieces. When I saw your work, I'll open that one in a minute. I immediately started thinking like, this is somebody who has a background in design. You have, particularly in some of the other work, have a way of adding like the design elements and lines, the graphic read. Yeah. You don't see a lot of other illustrators doing that don't have a background in design. Now that was something that is a positive, potentially, to your artwork, that you can kind of lean into that a little bit that other people can't as much. There was somebody really popular. What game was it? Dragon something that had art with like designs.
Dragon Age.
Was it Dragon Age?
Yeah, it was like Dragon Age Inquisition had some pieces like that. And there's an artist that has very similar work. I'm sure there's others, but off the top of my head, it's Eleanor Piteira. It's a Portuguese artist. And
Another Eleanor?
Yes. And she does art that has those graphic elements, but there are others as well. I just can't remember them off the top of my head. So it is something you see, and it's quite enjoyable, when you see it done and it's done well. It's nice to see.
Yeah, Dragon Age. I remember seeing some of those pieces. They're really good. So just trying to open this up. Okay, I like the cool little logo you got there.
It's fancy.
So with these, again, subject matter, pretty good. Then we get down here. How do I say this? If you're wanting to move up in client work to get somebody like D&D, MTG, similar properties, then we've got to start comparing our work to the work that they are hiring people to do. And we need to start matching that look, style, quality, subject matter, all of that stuff.
Doesn't mean we have to copy them
No.
or be the same as another artist, but we have to try and match the quality of the output. In terms of what the client expects, right? So we kind of have, let's say, a little bit of everything going on. It's broadly fantasy, but some of it is, I don't know what kind of product or client a piece like this would be appropriate for, right? So we're not saying that these pieces are not valid. We're saying that it's when you're making an effort to reach these clients, we want to make sure that every piece that we're investing time into is a piece that is going to help us in that goal.
Yeah.
So doing studies and stuff is fine, and we still want to practice. Anatomy studies, okay, portrait studies, perspective studies, very good. But when we do a portfolio piece, we want to make sure that it's not a waste of effort, because a good portfolio illustration is a fair amount of hours invested. So we don't want to just be throwing that at something that's not going to land with our target client.
Now, two things. You're starting to pick up some client work. Like some of these say, okay, private commission. I assume this is related to their like D&D campaign or something like that. This is a mixed bag as far as career is concerned and your portfolio is concerned, because one, you're getting some paid client work, getting experience working with somebody under the constraints of a brief, and that's good. On the other side, a lot of these initial commissions that you might get at this stage do not make for good portfolio pieces subject matter wise. Okay? And there is a lot of pieces that I don't put in my portfolio, and I certainly didn't keep in my portfolio very long, from lower projects that I picked up, because they aren't the nature of what the scene is, and the design of the character is not a professional level concept or design, and therefore I don't want to try to use it to pitch to a bigger, higher tier company. And just keep that in mind, that if you're really wanting to level up your portfolio, it may be that you just need to do personal pieces for a while. Yeah, you do your commission stuff, but we may not actually even put that in our portfolio, because you need to be able to control more of the parameters to do a really tailored subject matter for this particular client.
It's hard when you're taking commissions from regular people and they just have like random requirements that are not necessarily like industry appropriate. So when we're talking about, okay, do your personal pieces for your portfolio, we're not talking about random pieces that you just imagine on the spur of the moment, or random fan arts. If you, I swear I'm not shilling. If you don't have our portfolio kit, I recommend getting it. If you don't want to get it, understandable. Just go and watch some of our portfolio review videos where we talk about some of these things. But also get some briefs from the Discord. There's free briefs, which are from past challenges, past briefs that we made that are there for anyone who wants to use them. We have new custom ones that are more, we put more thought into them specifically for different types of portfolios. So really what you need to be doing now, whether you get our kit or you don't, okay, is in these pieces that you're creating, like I said, you're investing a lot of time into making these pieces. It's important that you are working from specific briefs, that you are not inventing on the spur of the moment, and that are briefs that are tailored for your client, that will attract those clients that you want. Because it's very hard to attract specific clients with random pieces. And that's what we're getting, kind of some randomness in here, like something like this.
Okay, so this right here, personal piece, you were playing out some ideas, you were playing around with design, color palettes, lighting, all of these things. And that can be great. There is a place and a need for personal pieces. However, this doesn't have a lot of application or usefulness for the clients that you're trying to head your career towards. Magic doesn't really need this, and D&D doesn't really need this as of now. So we got to kind of keep that in mind, and we have to be a little critical with ourselves with where are we putting our time into which pieces.
Because we do have limited amounts of time. We can't make all the paintings that we want to make, all the time. So if we have a target we need to hit, we need to maximize the use of our time to hit that target. On a technical level, so you're demonstrating some good abilities here, I feel like some of these pieces are just not getting enough time
Yeah.
to be fully developed. So you're calling them done too early. This piece, for example, there was a lot of effort and time put into the face. That's good.
Yes.
We need that face. The face is the most important part of this image, but that doesn't mean that we can ignore the rest. So these figures here, this was very quickly done. There's not time put into this. The length of the arm here is much smaller than her arm, and I assume these people are the same size. It's not a child back here. I'm guessing. I don't know. So we need the same amount of care back here. Doesn't mean that it needs to be as rendered, or as sharp as this, but this is too rough. And then we've got the rest of the character is also very quickly done. This piece could be a lot stronger with more time put in. Maybe the graphical elements, I don't know if we need them in this scene or if we need them between her and these figures. Maybe they could be behind the figures or something. This is getting a little bit confusing. Not quite sure, the purpose of these lines. But regardless, there's enough here that you could make this, a striking piece if there was more time put in. Same thing with this. When you put a piece like this in your portfolio, this is a pretty epic sort of piece. We've got the upward facing camera, a very heroic type of character, heroic build. It's kind of got this, epic aura behind him. It's this lighting. And so when a person in the audience sees a scene like this, they're expecting a certain level of quality to accompany a scene like this. And I feel like more time is really needed on that anatomy. It needs to be referenced with a reference that has the correct lighting on it.
Yeah.
And when we cut all these corners, all of that adds up and brings the image down.
Okay, so let me open a couple of these in Photoshop. I didn't really do paint overs, but I want to show a couple of things. Let's open this one.
Oh, one thing I want to mention to North too. Your concepts are good.
Yeah.
Your ideas are good ideas. They're not silly, nonsensical ideas. They're good ideas that make for good illustrations. So you've already got your head in the right place as to what kind of stuff you want to paint.
So for you, the thing that would really push these further is more time developing and realizing the painting, realizing the subject matter, because right now this is not printable. It's so dark that's just going to be like a black mass if that was to be printed. And even on most screens, you can't hardly make any of this out. Now, I know that you're not trying to be real detailed with it, like you're intentionally trying to silhouette them, right? And you're trying to have limited detail, but this is too little. We need more than this. So let me show you some examples of some pieces. So like up here, same sort of thing, bright blue background, right? Character's darker, but we still have some fill light on this character. They are still a dark figure over a light background, but we're not sacrificing all detail to accomplish that.
You
Same
gotta
thing
see
here.
a little more.
So each one of these is like basically a dark figure, but we can get this much resolution out of it and still be considered a dark figure. And this is what you would expect to see on a higher level project. The artist knows how to do that balance between, this is black. This is a black tunic with dark leathers, with other stuff over a dim background, but I'm still going to show you the form, and I'm still going to convey the materials, and I'm still going to convey the design work.
You'll notice too that kind of avoid making it one solid mass. So zoom out for a moment. We have no negative space between the arms, between the legs, between anything. So it ends up just being one mass, right? it's just something to think about. And I like this idea. I think it's a good idea and a good concept. Just we need more information on the figure and on the wolf too. We just need to see more of it.
So for a piece like this, the first thing you need to do is allow yourself to double the amount of hours you put into it. I don't know how much you put into this. Let's say 20 hours. So okay, normally I put 20, I'm going to do 40 or 60. See what you can do. Really, I say that because like the time that I had one of the biggest breakthroughs of painting is when I told myself, I will not stop on this piece until it is literally as good as I can make it. And that's why I clocked in over 100 hours on a piece. And then having pushed through that barrier, having pushed through, this is what it feels like to want to be finished and not finish. And you just keep going, you keep developing, you keep developing, you keep improving. And I feel like you really need to do that on a piece.
It's mainly like looking at each component. It's like, okay, let's look at the top half of the character. Okay, let me go down. The face. Is that the best face I can do?
Yeah.
Is that the best arm I can do? Is that the best torso I can do? Is that the best I can do on the costume? Is that the best wolf that I could paint? Is that the best I can do? Just that? Are these the best boots that I can paint?
If I gave you 20 hours just to paint this wolf, could you do it better?
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, then do it better.
Yeah. If the answer is no, okay, then we have to double back and say, I need to go practice painting some of these things. I need to go do some studies. If I cannot paint a better boot than this, I have to go practice painting some boots.
Yeah.
If I can't paint a better face than this, I have to go practice painting some faces. So we have to find out where the wall is. If we don't know where the wall is, and we are always stopping short, then we're never going to reach our potential and get any better, right?
Yep. Okay, and I just pulled up some similar references for this piece. This one is one of those you're definitely... Okay, same thing as we talked about with the Centaur piece. That anytime, any piece you do, you're setting a certain subject matter. In this case, it's a big vista, characters looking at this big fortress city thing. And it sets an expectation of the quality that people want to see for that particular thing. Like if I go look for League of Legends splash art, there is a certain quality that everyone expects to see for that subject. And the same way for fantasy scene like this, and right now, it's not hitting that mark. So we have to go element by element and say, how do we improve the characters? How do we improve the lighting? How do we improve the designs? What is it that I can do to push it to that expected level for this particular subject matter? And here's some different pieces. Okay, actually, before I do that, notes. We're getting lumpy purple. Okay.
This is not particular to North.
No.
This is just something that everybody has done and many, many people do. We see it in a lot of pieces. That's why we have a name for it, is lumpy purple, because it's just something that people have a tendency to do.
Yeah. And that is this vague, dull purple that we're getting in the clouds and in the rocks, in the city, in the foreground. And it's an indication that you didn't really know what color it needed to be. You weren't sure if it should be warm or cool. So you split the difference and just make it purple. And that tells me anytime you're getting this pervasive, dull brown purple, stop. Because you need to take a step back and figure out what does it actually need to be. Because the answers are... Chances are it's probably not lumpy purple.
You need to, anybody getting into the, like Clint said, the purple thing, this is an indication of not being specific.
Yeah.
So, what time of day is it really? Mm-hmm. What color is the sky during that time of day, right? If that's what we're trying to communicate, we have to be specific. What is, the lighting, what color are these rocks? actually, before we light them, before, we have to be specific. What color are the clothes? Are they actually wearing purple? I can't tell. We're getting purple on everything. So we have to be specific. Once we are specific, say, no, this cape is blue, this cape is black, this grass is green, okay, these rocks are gray, let's say, and the stone the castle is made of is white. Okay. Once we are specific, and the time of day is golden hour, and so the sky is going to be pink or whatever the color is during golden hour, then we can start to modify the other things, the other colors, to tint them what they need to be for that lighting scenario. We can get more specific. But when we're not specific, so we don't know, is there a storm? Is it just nighttime? What time of day is it? When we don't know the answer to these questions, we just start rendering. If we're not specific about our intention, we end up with a non-specific result.
Yeah, and that's what we have here. I couldn't tell you what time of day. I don't know whether it's actually stormy or not. We're getting like really warm light here, but yet we're still getting blue sky coming through the clouds. And it feels like the light is really, really low to the horizon because of the angle that these are being lit from the side rather than the top. So it's sunset, but it's not sunset colors over most of it. We're still getting like super teal green water, which you're not going to get at sunset. Well, this just says that there's not enough referencing, and we didn't spend enough time in the color study, lighting setup stages.
Yeah, don't rush through that. Not just you, everybody, especially when you're lighting a big scene, it's better to be sure what time of day is it really? Because that is going to impact the color of everything and what you paint everything.
So what you need when you're approaching a scene like this is to have a really definitive light color reference. This is my color palette, and it's going to have this feel and values to the lighting. Or it's going to be this, or it's going to be this. And it needs to be a photo, or it needs to be a really good art piece that you're basing it on. And any other, I didn't gather any others of like people looking off of ledges, but I would say that have multiple scenes of like people staying on ledges looking at vistas, and you'd have some more of those. Doing these might be really helpful. These can be really good for anyone wanting to get better at this. Pick out, and it can be the same castle, and you're doing it in different times of day, in different lighting scenarios.
There's lots of these references on Pinterest, by the way. If you go look at like lighting, times of day, digital art or studies, and you'll see lots of people doing color studies like this.
By doing these, you will start to get a sense of what colors combo with what colors and how the values connect to each other. And it'll start also building a mental library so that when you need to approach a new piece, you're like, oh, I remember I did that study. And even if you can't just pull it out of your head and paint it, you'll remember where to go reference it and what some of the key points about it were.
Yeah, you might even just create your own color palettes or gamut masks for specific times of day, right?
All right, well, I think we have to wrap it there. That is what I would see as being the main things. It's really be targeted on who are the clients that I'm trying to aim for, what kind of work would they want to see that is in the direction of my style, and what can I do in order to improve my pieces if I allow myself to double the hours on each piece. Where would I put that time? And make sure that every area, like background elements included, receive the amount of resolution that they need. And
working from briefs too is very important. So keep those things in mind, and keep working on your art. I think you're going in a good direction. You just need some more time on these pieces and extra push, and be deliberate about the pieces that you're choosing to put in there. Okay, going over to Igor next.
Said, I wonder if you could take a look at these, and then you updated which image you wanted to look at. So we'll just open this one up. It's not a portfolio, it's just an individual piece.
It's Warhammer.
Warhammer 40K is on the rise.
We're gonna do a Warhammer challenge, I think, before the end of the year. Because it looks like a lot of people are interested, and we're getting kind of interested because you guys are interested.
Okay, right off the bat, some really good painting here. You are really getting into resolving all of this stuff. It looks
This is very cool.
correct from the outside of somebody who's not a 40K buff. Looks good to me. Some really great stuff going on there, mechanics and everything.
Yeah, that hand is awesome.
So we are going to be just a little nitpicky on this because it's cleanly drawn, it's cleanly painted, it's obvious what property it's from. All of those things are getting checked. So now it's, okay, what can we do to boost it a little bit, or what might catch an art director off about it? Okay. And we've got a variety of lines. Don't be scared.
They're just little notes.
The first main thing is it feels like he's leaning over too much. And that he's walking, he feels off balance, like forwards a little bit. And you might be able to just grab the upper body and just tweak it back a little bit to fix that.
Or you could grab the whole guy.
Yeah, or you could just get the whole thing and just leaning back a little bit. I would have to say that. I looked at other 40K art. I didn't really see people doing the boxes in box thing. I feel like you could just give it a white background and just crop it closer to the character. I don't know that we need all this extra space. That's a minor thing, but there you go. Okay, other stuff. I don't know if this design and color combination has to be exactly like this. All right, I'm just saying this from the outside, which is the value combination here isn't helping his read because we've got light skin and light hair on a light lit background. I can still make it out. It's clear enough. But potentially letting it maybe get like darker back here so the lighter skin could show on it, and we just have more green on this side to contrast against the darker shadow side of the head. That would be a small thing.
You could do like a gradient back there.
Yeah. So that would be one thing. Posing wise, it catches me some that this leg is the most forward and the arm on the same side is also the most forward. And I know that he's like stepping with this leg, but it just catches me off that this leg is just starting to come forward and this arm is already all the way forward. It's just, that's not how the walk cycle works. So it catches me off some there. And maybe that has to do with why he feels a little off balance. Yeah. All right. Overall value feels muted to me. So if I just have to separate him because I have black on the other side and it's going to influence it.
I don't know if Igor is here. Igor, are you here in the chat? Let us know.
So we have here, we're looking at the values, and really all the values stop at about 85%. There's just a little bit over that, but most of them stop at about 85%, which means we're not getting any true darks, and I think that is not a benefit. I think if we actually move this down, we're going to get a lot richer color immediately from that. I don't think we're gaining anything by muting some of this.
Yeah, that's a bit more impactful. This is a simple change.
Now, for the right subject matter, muting can work. It can be a nice effect. But for 40K, they're all about the bombastic, really dramatic, big colors, everything's just like dialed up.
Also, all you have is just the character here by himself, so there's
Yeah.
no need to mute him.
Yep. So that would be something there. Let's also talk about the posing before we move into some of the other stuff. Over here on this arm, I'm getting some issues with this. Where, one, this arm looks a lot smaller than this arm. And I don't know whether it's supposed to be like this is like an oversized mech hand, or whether these hands are supposed to be the same size. If they're supposed to be the same size, then we're getting too much foreshortening, where this hand is too big and that hand is too small, and we need to find a middle ground between them somewhere.
I don't know. I get the vibe. I don't know if I'm wrong or right that big hand is supposed to be oversized. In which case, I think the backhand is still a little bit too small.
Yeah.
But even if it was that small, that means it's way back behind him, like he's pulling it away. But then your sword is coming forward.
Yeah, this is one of the things that's throwing me off. Let me do this on layer so we're not distracted by all the other lines. For this arm right here, he basically, his body is turned this way, right? And his arm basically has to be going completely sideways in order to get that forearm at that angle. And we're actually getting a curvature that's going this way, which means that it's going away from the camera. So he has to be turning it like uncomfortably backwards in order to get to that angle, because otherwise you naturally, it's going to be coming towards you a little bit. So you're going to get more, you're going to get some curvature going this way, right, as it comes towards you, and you're going to get more hand visible at the end, like right there. Because it looks like, yeah, like you were saying, if we were to make this a cylinder, it looks like that
Well,
end,
it is. It's turning this way.
yeah, is coming here, and this is turning that way. But the way that it's drawn right now, this would have to be going away from us, and that has to be going away from us because the arm is going away from
And it
us.
should have to be smaller because it's going further
Yeah,
away.
and then this would have to be, perspective. That's too much. I'm getting lag. That would have to be going back that direction, and we'd see the like underside of this. Now, either of those is valid. You can do either one of those, but right now it's kind of trying to do both.
Well, right now the arm is going one way, but the sword is coming the other way.
Yeah. So I would look at addressing that. All right. Other things. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the design. Again, we're speaking from, if you can just change the design without compromising who this character is, and maybe this is a named character, I have no idea. Then one of the places I feel like there is room for improvement is with this cloak. And this cloak just goes around his waist, and it just hooks onto these odd little hooks right here. And it just feels like a little dainty for this big bulky dude just to have these like little hooks on the chest piece. And it only comes off of the mid chest. Like
It's
it
almost
doesn't,
like these two little nipple rings holding the curtain.
yeah.
You know, so can we find a solution for that that's more consistent with the character?
Okay.
Again, I don't know if this is an existing Warhammer design.
Yeah.
If it is, my apologies. But this is just what we're just going off of what we can see.
As I would think about it, first option is, do we need this at all? Because he's got a really good silhouette, this great, like, powerful, complex upper body with this kind of A-frame leg position. That's not bad at all. That's really good. And this cloak actually muddies up the overall read in silhouette to have it kind of be breaking up all of our negative space. Now, we don't have any negative space around the legs. This arm, basically, all that just kind of becomes a unit in there. But if we want to keep it, is there a better way? Like, can we fasten it? Can it come from underneath the shoulder piece? Can it just come from like here and there? Or can we have some emblem like here, and maybe it can fall off of the emblem on each side, and that might be a little more military-like, right?
Well, it could also be just, instead of being a big cloak, it could just be two pieces that kind of just fall, right? So some other, I get why it's there. It's a contrast of hard and soft. So you're adding a soft element to contrast against your big mech. I understand. I like that idea. But maybe try out a couple of other solutions. It just is very strange.
Yeah.
Right now.
Okay, some other things along with the little hooks. Some of these are feeling a little dainty, just a little small and delicate for this macho character. So with like the spine here, that's a cool piece. I would scale that up. I would make each one of these like bigger. 3 times the size of this
like
thing.
Some bigger beast or a giant spine. Or
Yeah,
something.
is it the spine of this thing? Okay, then let's put some big vertebrae coming off of here, right? And fine, we can put some bones on here, but let's like have some bigger ones, right? That's cool. I think that's gonna be a little stronger. This looks like a mammoth, a 4-eyed mammoth skull. I don't
That's
know
cool.
if these are common creatures in 40K, but it has a good read, but it does seem little compared to the kind of creature that I would expect it to be. Like if it's a mammoth, this thing would be like huge. I would consider actually just scaling that up a bit. Just make it a little, even as pronounced as it is, I would consider like just making it even bigger.
Also note this tusk has to join at that head, and right now I don't know if it really joins there. You might need to move the head.
I'm just going to make sure you need to know this. I don't know whether this is true or not. That this is just over the one left shoulder, whatever this thing is, and that this is mounted on the left shoulder. Because part of me really wants this thing to be centered over his back and these things to come out over his head, like straight, you know? I don't think that's what you're going for, but part of me kind of wants that. Otherwise, it's literally just setting like at a 45-degree angle, kind of coming out over his head.
Then the horns won't really be centered on him if he's on one shoulder, right?
Well, that's where it is right now. That's what I'm saying. It's like just kind of going off at an angle. Up to you. I don't know what the plan was there. So, lighting wise, I mean that's fine.
Yeah, I like it.
I pulled off just a couple of pieces here. It reminded me a bit of Adrian Smith and the way that he would kind of do a detailed character with just suggested lighting. It's not about doing.
It's a flat kind of.
Yeah, it's a flat sort of lighting.
Top down.
If you haven't looked at his work, maybe you can take some inspiration. I didn't see that he had done any exactly like this, but maybe you find some. Again, on these types of characters, I feel like you're in that same vein as like that one. And this is another one of Adrian Smith's doing just all this crazy stuff. It reminded me a little bit of that one. So yeah, there's a couple of points. A really strong piece. If you were to put a little more time into it, you might be able to get a bit more out of it. Just address a few things that catches off here or there. But lovely rendering. I think it's a good example of
It is really
40K.
awesome. Like we were just picking on small things because it looks great.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, who is next? So that's been 3. I think we got 3.
That's 3. We got 3 more. Sean is up next.
Sean, are you here? Let us know in the chat.
Okay, these were the only pieces on Sean's portfolio, so we'll just look at them here. So I'd love to hear any feedback on the portfolio. Don't hesitate to be sharp and direct. because of value growth. Don't twist the knife, okay. A lot of it is fan art right now. I'm still trying to find where I belong in the world of illustration, but appreciate every day, every guidance. Okay.
I think Sean is here. Well, someone said hi. I think it's Sean. I'm not sure.
So we're definitely seeing some fan art of Pokemon. We've got Blastoise, Spike. I think this is Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop, but I don't remember him having facial hair.
I don't know any of these characters. I'll take your word for it.
Maybe it's a combination. Maybe it's two characters combined. I don't know. Charizard. This one's something of the river Styx and looking up through the water at a broken bridge. And Bulbasaur. Yeah. Venusaur. Yeah. At this stage, okay, that is you. All right. Sean, at this stage, we are unsure the feedback because it really differs between, are you doing this as a hobby for fun in order to create images of your favorite franchises, favorite characters, or are you creating these images as a professional portfolio to secure work because you're trying to do this as an occupation?
I think these are two very different
Yes.
approaches and outlooks. So our feedback is also, it's very dependent on what the goal is. If you're doing this for personal expression and you're asking us, what can I work on technically, or how can I improve on this or that, we can definitely give feedback in that direction. But it's a different feedback than if you are trying to do this professionally, right? So if you could let us know in the chat, moving towards the latter. So do you mean that you are wanting to do this professionally? That's the goal.
Obviously, there's like a 10-second delay between when we say something and we actually see the response, so we have to just give it a second. Yeah, so it's a combination of Spike and a character from Overwatch. Okay. Then if you're wanting to move towards the direction of commercial illustration, then we need to put all of our attention into study. All right? What we've been doing so far is imaginative stuff. Okay? And what you have to do is start with all of your time being focused on the skills. Because if you have killer skills, then securing work becomes essentially the easy part of the equation. If you have substandard skills, finding work becomes the hardest thing possible to do. So we've got to prioritize the skills necessary. Along that line, you need to start asking yourself, what kind of work am I actually aiming towards? It doesn't mean that you need to be super specific on the onset, but you need to start at least thinking about, am I trying to do creatures? Am I trying to do characters? Am I trying to do whatever? So you know just what you need to start kind of studying on.
Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of things you could study, right? There's a lot of areas of study for this stuff. So you need to be specific. Okay, what job am I trying to do specifically? Am I trying to do full fantasy scenes? Am I trying to just do illustrated creatures? Am I trying, am I doing environments like that river view piece? Am I trying to do an environmental piece? So we have to be specific because these are different things. And then once you make up your mind what you like, because we have to choose one thing first, right? So let's say you decide, okay, I really like creatures, cute animals, cute creatures. Okay, then to study, what you need to study is animal anatomy, form drawing, form rendering, and probably materials. And once you have a decent understanding of those things, then we can get into composition and lighting. Those are kind of the things you need to do this professionally.
Yeah.
So once you pick the area that you want to pursue, then look, okay, realistically, what are the skills I need to do this competitively as a job? Go study those things and like meaningfully study. It's not studying animal anatomy is like, okay, I drew a dog today, I'm done studying it. No, it's actually giving it study time, spending a couple of months doing nothing but animal drawings, trying to break them down into their simplest forms. Can I rotate them? Can I draw them from different angles? So this is what I mean by study. Yes, it's hard work. If it starts to feel like work, that means you're doing it right.
Yeah. I was going to pull up something. You were saying that it reminded me of his quote.
Oh, 10-10. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so there is an artist that goes by 1010. I'll pull up his work right here. Very skilled, very knowledgeable artist. I don't know them personally, never met them or anything, but I'm familiar with their work. And he has a quote that I read a while back and said, his students ask him, how many times do I need to practice? And he tells them, well, if you're not doing it 100 times, can you really call it practice? He's got a point.
That's him. That's his words, not ours.
Yeah.
But can you make an argument against that?
There is an argument, a strong argument for the absolute need for quantity, certainly at the beginning stages.
Yes.
So if you want to do, we're just saying creature anatomy or creature design, something in that vein, then it's don't draw a horse, draw 100 horses. Don't draw a dog, draw 100 dogs in varying poses and different ways of breaking down the volumes.
You'll notice that you gain a pretty good understanding after you do that. And again, it's not as difficult or time consuming as you may think.
Yeah.
So sitting down and getting like 10 references of a horse or a dog or whatever animal, reptile, lizard, and drawing them from a reference, just sketching them out, drawing them, trying to get correct, and doing that a page of 10, you can do that easily, in a couple of hours.
It would be like doing this version of an animal, right? It would be like, okay, how do I break it down into blocks? How do I then increase the resolution of it? If I can make it a more complex box, what do I do? I'm going to study its musculature today, or I'm going to study its skeleton today.
If you only sketch 10 a day, in 10 days, you'll have done the 100.
Yep.
So it's not like we're talking about 100 years worth of study here.
Okay, just to wrap up, overview is when I'm looking at this, I am seeing a lack of understanding in the fundamentals. And that is 100% something that you do have to address before you can get to anything else. Now, you can try whatever you want, but that's like running from the starting zone in a game right to the end game zone and not leveling up, and you're going to get completely out leveled and not be able to take on those challenges. So in order to do the kind of images that you're wanting to do at the level that you'll need to be able to do them to do this professionally, we've got to slow down. We've got to do some of our training and our grinding in the foundations of anatomy, form drawing, shading, perspective, all of this stuff. Then we can start going into specific subject matter, like I want to do creatures, I want to do scenes, and then you do your training in those. Then you start putting together a portfolio.
But getting to the jobs without doing any of the training is impossible. I mean, we keep having to tell people there are no shortcuts because people are always trying to find some hack or some shortcut. And the work you see, the artwork you see that you love, that's done professionally, that's on ArtStation, all that work, that's years of study. That wasn't anyone bypassing the study period.
Okay, I'm going to just jump into this.
This is not directly for Sean. Now,
No.
this is for everybody watching. We'd meant to make a video about this actually before, and we just didn't get to it.
Yeah, we were just talking about it the other day, and I was like, I'm going to just add this into the stream because I want to cover it. So, a couple of things to keep in mind. Let's really slowly draw a line because of the lag. Oh my gosh.
We have to figure out what's wrong with this thing. I don't know.
It's OBS. OBS, like, for some reason, OBS on Mac is just super slow, but there isn't any other great alternatives. Okay. Nope. Nope. Nope.
Auto select.
Over here, let's call this artist. These are all the people who are creating art out there, hobbyists and professionals alike. Okay, this is 100%
Everybody.
everybody.
That's everybody on DeviantArt, everybody in art schools, everybody making art on Instagram, etc.
I'll move it over because we have a webcam down there.
Okay.
So, with all those people, I'm going to put a line right here. In order to be a professional artist, you really need to be in the 90th percentile.
It's like the top 10%.
Yeah.
So you need to be better than 90% of all the artists that are out there, or people making art.
Now, if we get this group and we expand it essentially to this. So all that section is this section. Now we can divide this like this. In this, we have single A projects. We've got double A projects. And we've got triple A. I'll just let it catch up.
And this is, this top percentile here gets all the jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, so this box basically is the jobs. And they get all the jobs. And these people down here don't get any of the jobs.
I'll call this the industry. This is where all the jobs are actually happening. That's a good way to say it. Now, in this, only the people in AAA are working on your big named projects. Like, this is where you do concept art for Assassin's Creed. This is League of Legends. This is Magic the Gathering. All right? Okay, so they're up here. And there's some other really good jobs in the AA too. All right? So people will often say, okay, I want to work with, and they'll say something in the AAA category that's even like higher level AAA.
Like splash art.
Okay, so splash art, let's divide this now about there. So splash art is in the top like 10% of all the industry. Maybe even, it's probably less than that, but we'll call it 10%. If you want to get that work, so it's what you would consider, let's say it this way. It's in the 90 percentile. You have to be better than 90% of artists in order to secure work that is in the 90th percentile of the jobs available.
But, okay, just bear in mind, you have to be better than 90% of the people who are already working. Not these people are here that are getting no jobs. They don't even factor in.
No, we're only talking about the people here that are actually getting work. So, is the equation of...
That's like your Bo Chen, right? Bo Chen is more skilled than arguably 90% of all the illustrators.
Yeah. So, over there is the jobs, but it equates to quality. And this is the thing that I'm trying to drive towards, is the jobs that you get are going to equate to the level of quality that you are compared to the industry. If you are only better than 5% of the artists in the industry, you will get the jobs in the lowest 5 percentile available. That will be the lowest paying, lowest hanging projects. If you are producing work that is better than 95% of the people, then you will get the jobs that pay 95% more better and be 95% in the highest like name brand sort of projects available. And that would be like splash art. And again, yeah, that hobbyists and non-working people don't even equate to this equation. That's the way that we have to think about it. Because what I really see is people who are here, they're good enough to start getting some stuff, but so their quality is here, but they want the jobs that are there. And they're going, why am I not getting this job? Well, because your work's only better than 5%. If your work is better than 95%, then yeah, you can get that stuff. But can you really honestly say, and this is what you have to do, you have to be honest. Look at your work and compare it against the people who are the best on ArtStation and say, am I really better? Is my work better than 90% of the work that I see on ArtStation?
I have to qualify that because it has to do with the subject matter too.
Yes,
okay.
That is subject.
You don't have to be better than 95% of the people on ArtStation, everybody. You have to be better than the people who are doing the same thing that you're doing. So if you are a prop artist, okay, and you are painting wooden crates and wooden bridges and magical shoes or whatever, you're painting those props. If you want to get the AAA highest paying jobs for prop artists, you got to be better than most of the other prop artists.
Yeah.
You don't have to be better than the guy who's doing environments. That has nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. You have to be better than the guy who's doing prop crates and prop bridges and magical shoes, right? Same thing if you're doing full scenes, which a lot of people come to us and they're doing full scenes. That's why we say when you throw your hat in the ring for full scenes, you're competing against all those people who are doing full scenes professionally, not the noobs, not the students, not the hobbyists. You're going to be compared to the professionals because that's who the client is comparing you to. So they have money to give. They're going to get the best they can get for their money. And this is why I mentioned earlier that the feedback and the mentality for people who are doing this as a hobby for personal development and for professional goals are totally different things. Yeah. So if you're doing this for yourself as a hobby, for your own enjoyment, your own expression, self-expression, self-fulfillment, all that matters is that you are happy with your progress. You are getting the results that you want. You're learning the things you enjoy. It's all about what do you want this to be and what level do you want to achieve just for yourself. Mm-hmm. When you are doing this for professional reasons, for clients, for commissions, for companies, it's not about what you are satisfied with so much anymore, because what's dictating your success is who are these people going to give their money to? They have standards for who they're going to give their money to. And so then it becomes about when people ask us for that feedback, we say, okay, you need to hit these standards if you're trying to get this pay, right? And so then it becomes, what do I need to study? What standards do I need to reach? Because you are competing against other people. I mean, that's just what it is.
Yeah. As a hobbyist doesn't have to compare his work against anyone. He's only doing it for him. Yeah. But as soon as you say, I'm trying to do this professionally, all right, now you have legitimate competition and people, you have to be compared to what the industry is paying for that subject matter.
Yeah. So
100%.
Hopefully that is, helpful or clarifies the why we say certain things that we say.
All right, the next up is Figueros. I'm not sure if that's how you intend that to be pronounced.
Figaro's, if you are here, let us know. Type something in the chat.
So I feel a bit out of place, but I appreciate any feedback about my portfolio and art as a whole. I'm interested in concept art and illustration, so the main point of doubt of what I look forward in the review is about direction. Okay, you are here. Excellent. I was looking how to get into editorial illustration, cover art for music, comic storytelling, even character and environmental design for video games. I know all of this industries have different skills requirements, and since my approach is so broad and vague as well as my art, I feel like I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. Here's my portfolio. Okay. You already recognize the biggest thing that you are facing right now, which is you have too broad of an approach. You are trying to do too many things, and any one of these things takes a lot of training to get competitive at. And if you're getting your available hours and you're splitting them in 5 different directions, then, and I'll be honest, you're probably not going to get good at any of them.
It's very
fast
hard.
enough to be able to do this.
Yeah, this isn't you specifically. This is anybody. If we spread our attention out.
Well, it's just math.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just math. You only have so many hours, and these take a certain amount of hours to get.
It would be like saying, I have 15 minutes to get dinner. I want to go to Burger King and Wendy's and McDonald's and whatever. They're all in different directions. And I'm going to try to go in every direction. I'm probably not going to get anything to eat, right? Because I'm not going in just one direction. So if that makes sense, this is kind of something that we say to everybody who has professional aspirations, which is you have to select one thing and exclude others.
Yes. You do have to make the conscious choice to not do certain things because you just don't have the time. From what I see a lot more leaning towards illustration than I do concept art. Concept artists generally can't keep away from doing lots of variations of things. They love playing with the idea of things and doing multiple versions of it. They like understanding how things work. You always seen sketches of like back views and turnarounds and schematic type stuff. That's not what I get on yours. So from the outset, I feel like illustration is probably more of your natural leaning. Editorial, I definitely see a lean that way as well.
Like a hint of it.
A hint of it, yeah. So right now, this isn't competitive as a portfolio for the things that you listed because it is trying to do so many things. But beyond that, right now, you are still in a artist-focused mindset. Right? There's 2 ideologies or mindsets where the only thing that the hobbyist needs to worry about is whether they like it or whether they take enjoyment out of it. And that's fine. There's no problem with that. That is, you're doing art for the love of art.
We do images like that too for ourselves, yeah.
However, as soon as you say, I want to start doing this professionally, that means the client has to be the focus. What does the client need me to deliver for them? What kind of style does the client want to see? Or what kind of style and rendering and subject matter is the industry need right now? So you're trying to deliver a solution to a problem, and you're trying to show the client that you know what the problem is and that you can provide that solution.
One of the first things you have to do that I think would get you on track is to decide who are my target clients specifically. So we said this to other people earlier on in the video reviews, right? We have to select not vague general idea, an abstract client. People do that all the time.
Yes.
Oh, who are you targeting, we ask, and they say, it's art directors. Okay, which art directors? It's companies. Which companies? And they don't have an answer. It's not, there is no company, there is no art director. It's an abstraction. It's my vague idea of an art director. No, we need to be specific. Which companies are you targeting? Which publishers? Which games? Okay, who are they paying? Who are they giving jobs to? What kind of art? That's what we need to do. If we are not specific, then we are making artwork and portfolio pieces for no one, for no client.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so right now, you've got to think about that. And then we've got to, then, because we're more client focused, look at what are the clients paying for? What are they wanting right now? If we look at editorial, I went out and I pulled out some things that were editorial. So one of the things you'll see is that for this specific type of illustration, they do lean towards traditional looking media. It's not always traditional media, but it at least has traditional feel, like it has a paper texture. Sometimes they add fake halftones and stuff, and sometimes it is like actual like acrylic painting or something.
And you'll note that even if it's for digital purposes, they favor images that print well.
Yes. One of the misleading things about some editorial pieces like this is that they're just kind of random and stylized. No, they're not. Stylized, yes. Random, they are not. Like this piece, very intentional. They really know contrast, light, dark contrast, balance of detail, overall composition.
And it's communicating. I know that that's a pumpkin spice latte. I know that this is a fall scene. I know what type of woman this is. This is very clear about its intention. It's communicating it, and every choice is deliberate. We got the fall trees outside. We got the pumpkins. We got the sweater. We got the latte. We've got the cinnamon spice, We've got everything here to communicate a very specific message. Right? It doesn't have to be a complex message, but it's deliberate.
Yeah.
Right? It's not an accident.
The stylizing for a lot of this, including this one, comes from them learning how to remove everything non-necessary to the message of this image. And like you say, I look at this, I know what kind of person, I have even an idea of what this article might be just looking at this.
And by the way, this image would work with a realistic renderer. You could render it like Hearthstone. You could render it like Magic. You could render it in different styles. This image would still work because the composition and the values work.
Yep.
Right.
Same thing here. A good traditional sort of look to it. Stylized, yes, but it's very controlled. Sets a mood. I don't know what the story was in relation to, but it's stylized in a way that the stylization does not inhibit the read of the image. It simplifies the message rather than complicates or confuses it. Very popular sort of style that I see in different editorial. Strong black lines, solid colors. It's well drawn. It's not detailed. It's not realistic. It doesn't need to be. It works well. This is some kind of story, I'm sure, about Asian sushi, going to a sushi market or restaurant or something.
But the perspective is correct. The shadows are placed correctly. The colors are, arranged nicely. So the composition is good. So the fundamentals are there.
Yeah.
It's just not rendered realistically. But
again, this is another one. You could paint this realistic and this scene is still going to work well. Yep. I particularly liked this one. You're getting a lot of that same thing. We're getting that.
This is so fun.
Really well drawn. Composition is good. It's stylized in a really fun way. details balance out well. It's again, this sort of thing makes me want to read the article related to it, and the stylizing helps convey the fun play game aspect of it, and we're intentionally trying to give it that sort of half-tone, old, vintage, printed look to it. Other things, caricatures always been popular in editorials, and they come in a variety of different styles of render.
Yeah, like more inky or more painted.
It looks like an actual ink and watercolor piece that was done.
I think it is.
Yeah. But again, we have to think about what is the message? How can I convey that message very clearly? If I can only show a few things, if I can only show one guy on a couch, okay, then I know that I don't have room for a full couch. I'm going to play with the proportions, make the couch really little. I need to, have some message about being a slob, perhaps, and throw in the burger down there. It's pretty realistic, but stylized. And a lot of these people, including Dominic, who did this one and this one, they're stylized, but man, do they know their stuff.
Yeah, if you go look at Dom's work on Instagram, you'll see many studies, like just normal proportions, realistic studies like this. So just because something is stylized or editorial does not mean that we can kind of get away with ignoring the foundational stuff.
Well, this is what we talk about fairly often, which is stylization is the fulfillment of the mastery. It's like it's free-form jazz, right? When you're first learning how to play, then you're reading the notes, you're learning the chords, you're learning rhythm, you're learning the timing, and you're following a set, probably written music. But then when you get really good at it, you start being able to play with it. You start being able to be loose with it. Freestyle it. Then that's where you get something like freeform jazz. This is the freeform jazz version of portraiture.
Yeah.
He knows portraiture so well. Now he can start bending the rules without compromising the actual anatomy in human that it's representing. He's actually augmenting it, and that means that you have to know it so well that you can do it without breaking it. And that's not a way to... the stylizing isn't a way to get away from the training, but a way to actually
expand past the training.
Yeah, it overemphasizes the message. Yeah. So
anyway, if anyone's curious about this person, it's Dominic Philibert on Instagram, and he's got many good drawings like that.
Okay, because there's so many people interested in the things you're interested, I'm also going to open this one. You mentioned doing like environment design. Okay, if you want to do environment design, there is work out there for that. It can be really, really cool subjects to do. Look to see who are the people who are getting hired, that are juniors getting hired to do this. Well, I would look at New Edge. New Edge is a school that teaches this.
Their students are very, very good.
So this was a concept one of the students did of this gate for some big city. I'm not familiar with the whole project. It's by Marvin Hillman, it looks like. So he did your classic 3D view of the thing. Okay, this is good. He did a version of it that this is like what you would see if you were playing the game. It's it in action, essentially.
So okay. There's the gate over there.
Yeah, so we got the gate over there. All right, so there's gate. There's another version of the gate or another gate from the city. All right, so we're getting some alternate versions. You don't always have two finished versions of the same thing. But then here's where we get into the specifics, which is A lot of people just want to do the grand scene from a long distance view.
That's only a small part of the job.
Yeah, that's one aspect. The other aspect is this, like people have to 3D model this, and this needs to work in game, and somebody needs to specifically work out exactly what this platform and the system looks like.
So that it can be animated and utilized. So those are the skills that clients are paying for, is somebody who's going to draw this stuff, work it out, so that it can be modeled and put in game.
So this is one of those big factors between rendering well, painting well will get you halfway there. The other half of the equation is like defining the actual design. It's thinking through it. It's doing all the planning and stuff. Same thing goes with characters. I've showed Oscar's work on here before, I think. I just liked this. It's like, it's a good layout for a character design. You're showing all the base options. You're showing different kinds of combinations of the costumes, highlighting a few of the major props and stuff. Then he's got the close-up of just the head. So being really specific with that, so somebody could then do a 3D model from that. And then we got the full like realistic render of it and the back view in lines and flats. This would be like an industry standard way to do a character concept. These are the components that a client would want to see. And the same way, this would be like an industry standard way of doing an environment design. So again, if you're aiming for one of these, then go look at what the expectation is and then start building your skills in order to be able to do each of these things.
And we do really recommend picking one direction. Look at the skills necessary, compare them to your own, and you have to be realistic and harsh with yourself, because if you're not, you won't take the necessary steps to do what you need to do. So think about that. We need to pick a direction and we need to get serious with it, right? So that's kind of what's holding you back right now. It's non-committal. You're kind of doing, random stuff. And it's hard to hit a target if you're not pointing directly at something.
My advice would be skills, studies, and training. I would suggest stepping away from trying to do new portfolio images and make sure that you have the underlying skills. Right now, I'm not seeing that. Maybe you've got them and you're not, and you're just trying to do like really stylized stuff. But I feel like there is lacking skill in some basic things like anatomy, lighting, values, schemes, that sort of stuff. So we got to do plenty of training in that. We start with doing at least 50% of what you do based on reality. Because right now, so much of this is so far removed from reality, you don't have a reference to judge against. So you're only judging against your own intuition, but you're the one who's trying to get better. So you've got to have some more stuff grounded in reality, and that's going to help.
Okay, I just want to point out what I said about picking a direction. What I meant was, if you pick like character design, then, okay, we need to go work on the anatomy a lot, on the portraits a lot, on the clothing a lot, like studies of those things and getting them looking realistic, and then planning our portfolio accordingly. If it's going to be environments, then there's no getting away from perspective. Perspective, probably 3D, doing studies of environments, doing breakdowns, look at what the pros are doing. And this is what we're talking about. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that, spend some time. Don't rush picking making a decision about what you want to do and picking a direction. Take your time and think about it, because when we pick a direction, we really have to commit to it. Yeah. It's a serious kind of life commitment, right?
I am going to make a plug here just because I didn't do it at the beginning.
Oh, you didn't plug the stuff.
But we did just launch the fall classes, or sign-ups for fall classes. So if you want to get in one of the fall classes that has live feedback, and we also have 3 new courses launching. So I'm going to just pull it up. I'll just talk to you about this for 1 minute, and then we're going to go to the last one. So here's, we changed the layout here. So, intro to stylization. Anybody who wants to get in Hearthstone, Blizzard, Warcraft, Riot, sort of stylized art direction, this is what you need to be looking at. This is being taught by Guillerme. Guillerme is a Blizzard illustrator. He's really good at this kind of stylized art.
Oh, yeah.
And we've been working with him hand in hand and developing this course. It's going to be a lot of fun. He's a really fun teacher. He's a really fun guy.
A good personality. Yeah.
We have been lacking any kind of class that is traditional and leading into more of a fine art direction. And Donna has stepped up in order to do fantasy portraits. This is a really good introduction if you're trying to get into traditional media. And it is really good if you're wanting to just improve portraiture, even digital painting for characters, for scenes, for fantasy art, anything in that territory, even character design. Portraiture takes so much intentional practice to get good at.
It's technical, and Donna goes through all the technical aspects of it. So recommend that, especially for even digital artists that want to get more into traditional, that want to sell originals, want to sell traditional pieces. I mean, you can't get any more accessible than doing it with a pencil, right? You don't have to buy any expensive paints or any of that stuff.
Yep. I do want to mention Nino, our friend Nino, is teaching digital painting basics. If you have never had any kind of training in digital media, if you don't know how to use Photoshop, or maybe you're transitioning from traditional media, this is where you want to start, just having the baseline skills. You will learn the methods and approaches that you would be expected to know in all of the other classes. So I'm coming out with character illustration. This is a new one that I'm doing. And this is aimed for people wanting to do TTRPG characters. These are standalone characters.
There's a bunch of cool goodies in this class that we don't have in the other classes. And I think that I'm not teaching this one, so I'm not, tooting my own horn or anything. Clint's teaching it. But there's so many good assignments and fun stuff in there. I think anyone that signs up for it is going to have a lot of fun.
Character design, you are giving feedback on this one. If you are aiming to get into doing character design, there's something that
art.
we are doing in this class that we don't see in other people's character design classes, which is they teach a very intuition, kind of vague theory approach to design. That's not the way we do it. Ours is more reliable, and you will be able to remember how to do this. It'll walk you through what is expected for an actual professional character design process. Then we'll also give you feedback on these two. We're not running feedback on material rendering this time. But okay, you can get all the details on the website. I just want to let you know that, because you can save $50 on sign up through next Friday. Then the prices go up to full price. It's early bird pricing right now. Okay, We is the last one we're going to be looking at.
So We was one of my students from the character design course from I don't know how many terms ago. I forget now. If you're in the chat, sorry we took so long to get to you. Just let us know if you're here, and we're going to get started.
Okay, so We has been focused on doing character design pages. This is the one that he did in the class. Again, excellent overview. This is exactly what would get a client's attention. We've got head, hair variations. We have the general concept directions.
Oh, We is here. Hi, We.
Hey, We. We've got the finished versions. This is the base version of the character and the advanced version of the character, and some call outs for any significant props. All right, and we got your name and stuff. So that's good to see. And then you've moved forwards and did some other characters. These are all from Order of the Dragon, which is a fictional project in the class that's used in the class. Okay, hair variations, face variations. Okay, first thing, I love seeing that you're sticking with this professional approach. We honestly see a lot of students come out of class and then they completely go back to exactly what they were doing before, and they just go back to their other method. So I like seeing that you're doing your sketching, you're doing the head variations, you're doing
You're
the
doing the
costume.
whole
Yeah.
process, and that is really, really good to see. I also think that your designs are appropriate for the characters. The clothes, for the most part, look like real clothes. The material distribution is appropriate. So you're being intentional and making good choices with a lot of things.
Yep. Okay. So at this point, the process is not the issue because I think you understand the process. You've shown the process being done several times. So just keep with that process as you continue. Currently, the thing that is holding it back the most, one of the first ones has to be the faces.
Yeah.
So with the faces, they just are not at the level they need to be at. And if you improve the faces, the heads, that alone would take this whole thing up a notch. So going forwards, the recommendation would be put a pause on doing entirely new character projects and just focus on faces, right?
Yeah. Okay, so this happens with a lot of people, with anybody. When you start doing, your portfolio pieces and you do 3, 4, 5, and you start to notice the same issue across all the pieces, that means you're hitting a wall on that issue. So doing another character sheet is not going to significantly make your faces better.
Yeah.
Because you're going to do one face, right? So we need to pause these, and we need to spend a month or 2 months just practicing faces every day to elevate them. Then when the next time we do a sheet, the face is going to be much better, right? But if we just do character sheets, we're only going to be doing one face every time we do a whole sheet. So we're not going to get significantly better. And right now, like Clint said, this is the thing that's making you hit a wall here. Keeping the quality down is these faces. They need to be better. And I think that you can get them better, but we just need focused study on this one aspect.
So this is one of those cases where you just look at the numbers. If you're doing a new character sheet every month, well, the thing is when you do a character sheet, you're really only doing one face and you're copying, copy. So that means that you practice one face in 1 month. Over the course of a year, you've only done 12 faces. Whereas if you only are practicing faces, you could practice 12 faces in 1 day. So
Maybe
if you
not fully painted.
Not fully painted. Let's say that you could do a couple.
Yeah.
You could
probably do 2. Let's say conservatively.
Yeah.
You can do 2 faces a day. Maybe even 3 if they're photo bashed, or 4, depending on... We don't want... Speed is not the issue.
Right.
We want to just get that face looking better. So let's say you don't have that much time and you only do 2 faces a day. Okay? Just do the math. Like in 7 days, you can do 14 faces. That's more than you would do in a whole year of doing characters, right?
And this is what we do recommend for anyone where if you're doing... This is be considered a batch skill. You have to be good at a bunch of little skills in order to do this. Portraiture is one of those skills to do this. And you're doing it for a while and you go, okay, well, what is kind of the lowest thing here that's holding things down? Okay, then let's pause on the batch thing and put all of our focus into that little component skill. And then improve that. And then we do the batch for a while. We'll do another character design. Okay, now what's holding it back? Well, maybe it's the way that I paint metal. Okay, and then we pause that and we go put all of our focus on just painting metal for a little bit. The thing holding it back. And then we do another one. Okay, so here, let's open 2 things. Let's see if I can get it open, both of these. Yep. Let's look at this prop first. Prop callouts. Should you have them? Yes. I like seeing them. Good call. The design is where we could push it. As well, there is some rendering as well. But we can really push the design. So particularly on these 2, unless they're going to be more developed, we don't actually need them. Because these are really basic. They're just like, this is the simplest version of a hatchet.
There's not that much design to it.
Yeah. So what we want to do is show that off. And we need to show something interesting about it, right? So I just went out to Pinterest. I took 2 minutes to go out to Pinterest and I just put in like Viking axe. And these came up. Right. And I just put in like shield and then these came up. So we need to do that. I'm not saying obviously don't copy anybody's stuff, but what can I do to this just to elevate it a little bit? This is what you consider first thought. It needs to be an axe, a hand axe. Okay, it would look like this. All right, well, that's the idea, but now how do I give it character? Okay, leather wrappings. We could have engravings. Maybe the engravings can kind of tell us a bit about it. This one just has, some straightforward kind of Celtic connotation to it. This one has what looks like magical symbols, or what you would consider kind of arcane engravings.
Oh, that one's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's nice as well. So each one of these, you glance at them and go, okay, well, am I trying to give this sort of feel? Am I trying to give this sort of feel? And then also, is there anything that I can do with the shape? Like, can I have a back piece coming off of it? Or is there anything a little more elegant I can do? You also, like, I'm looking at these and I see that the blade stays thin, and then it has to create a cylinder around the shaft there. And I see that here. And here it just goes kind of flat to both sides. That means it's really thick metal all the way. I'm looking at the shield. It's like, oh, man. I like the idea. Maybe a little paint on there to give it an accent color.
Yeah, that would be nice. Or some studs or...
Yeah, some studs in here. Is there some sort of like more involved sort of engraving that I can put on part of this in order to make it a little more interesting? So that's what we would need to do with these, is just make sure if we're going to showcase them and elevate them a little bit. Okay, with the character, like we said, face is the main thing here. I like the approach. The hair variations are good.
Yeah, your ideas are good.
Yes.
Your ideas on your costumes are good. You don't have bad ideas at all. The ideas are good and solid and appropriate. Now it's just a question of the technical execution.
Now for this character, Thorian, as I glance at him, he feels... I am unsure whether this is being treated as a regular human or as a dwarf.
It's a little bit short in the legs.
And it's like halfway between. So he's like 6 heads tall, which is short for a human, but it's not actual dwarf.
It's tall for a dwarf.
Yeah, it's tall for a dwarf or short for a human. I would suggest it to be one or the other, so that there isn't any confusion. Now, it's up to you which one you want to do. It's a matter to me. With the face, we're talking about improving the face. Let's try to be a little more specific. I did a little paint over just so that we are clear what we're talking about. In particular, we're getting a lot of really dark part in here that is compromising us being able to see the face. And also just doesn't feel like it meshes in with the lighting. Like, we've got a lot of light hitting this side of the character, but yet we've got this really dark shadow on that same side of the face. And this is where you run into issues with photo bashing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is why in the course, I say if you're going to photo bash the face, it has to be a face without strong directional lighting, because then these situations happen. So the softer the lighting is, and without any hard shadows, creates a better base for your photo bashed face.
I did save... Yeah, let me show you this so that you know what we're talking about here. You mentioned that long-term, one of the things, companies you were kind of aiming for would be Atom Hawk. Sweet, it's
a good goal.
A tier goal right there. So you want to go look at their stuff. What is Atom Hawk doing for their character designs, right? They did some for the new Mortal Kombat. I think it's 11. So like this is one of theirs, and really well painted. This feels a bit dark for me, but they do have a version of it that has the cleaner lines so that you can. It doesn't compromise the design. Right? So I still think you'd do a little better if it was a little brighter, but no, not that one. So we've got like some of these guys. Again, they keep the light very flat, right? And this is to help all those photo bashed elements work together a little better. It's hard to get things that have strong directional lighting because inevitably they don't have the same light direction on them.
It doesn't actually save time if you have to paint over the whole thing, right?
So there, this is what I'm going to suggest you start going towards, which is this kind of flat lighting. Mm-hmm. Yes, there is some shading, but it's primarily only occlusion shadows and cast shadows. There's a little cast shadow from one, like his arm onto his side, but most of it is just occlusion shadows other than the flat tones.
Yeah, look how soft the cast shadow from the head is on the neck. It's very soft. Yeah, see, very, very soft in here.
Yep. So I'm going to suggest look at some of these, and this is probably more the direction that you want to go because we don't need to establish strong directional light for a character, and just look at how they kind of balance all those values and stuff. So back to Photoshop, I messed with this guy. The first thing that you would have to do if you were trying to get this more in line with those would be to even out the lighting. Now, a lot of times you can do that. Make a normal layer at about 40% opacity. Pick whatever the base color is for that area. Mm-hmm. So I just picked one of the tones here on his forehead. And then I paint over all the skin tone. And that's going to take all the bright parts, bring them down a little bit. All the dark parts, bring them up a little bit.
Even it out a little bit.
Yeah, essentially throwing the soft filter on the light. Mm-hmm. Right? So that gets you to your base, and then you need to start painting. So we're doing this. Okay, so these are some of the issues we're looking at. That dark shadow there. Here we've got probably too much hair coming off the back. That's like a lot of volume of hair. So I think we need to pull that back. This looks pretty correct. In fact, that ear might be... No, I think the head actually... There's still a little too much head back there.
Just the rule is for anyone. Just remember this. If you're in doubt... Is this a B? Okay.
Oh, you can click on that later. Yeah.
If you have the nose inside the face, then the ear should stick out from the head. Yep. If you have the ear inside the head, then the nose should stick out of the face.
Yep.
Okay, so that's just a little mental note. When you're doing the heads in 3/4, the closer it gets to a profile, the more the ear is inside the head. Mm-hmm. If it's more turned frontally, like this one, then the ear is going to break the shape of the head. It's going to stick out, and the nose is going to be in the face. So just remember that little cheat.
I did not know that until we started painting together, and you mentioned that one day. I was like...
I thought everybody knew that. I did not come up with that.
That's true. That's true. If you start looking, it's like, that's actually really easy to remember. And
yeah, it's just helps. A good thing to remember when you're doing a face.
So what we're getting here is more of a front view of the face itself, but we're getting more of a side view of the side of the head, which is giving this kind of turn twist to it. Okay, so that's why we're suggesting that. Now, down here, these are a few of the things that I would look at as far as just anatomy, okay, and form. We've got this coming all the way up to the side of his nose. All right, we don't start having mustaches up that far. Mm-hmm. It's just coming from the lip. So we're probably going to be seeing skin in there. Additionally, we've got an absolute full beard that's running up to the literal edge of his bottom lip. Well, really, that's probably going to start a little lower, and then almost nobody has hair on the lower corners of the mouth.
Yeah, you
like
usually
down
see
there.
little gaps in there.
You're going to have some gaps of skin in this area. All right. And then it's probably, you've got a little dip there. You're probably going to get the dip right here, and then it goes over the chin. All right. So you're going to get that kind of flowing out from there. Now, on this side, we're establishing that this beard is got a lot of volume. Right, it's coming out a lot from his, like his cheek, and it comes down, and then it's got a lot of volume coming out. That's why I feel like we would have some volume out there as it goes around that form.
More Santa Claus.
Yeah. A little lag there. So that's kind of what I would expect to see as far as edits. Kind of get that in line. We're just evening out the lighting on that. We're adjusting some of the anatomy and the formation of the beard. Very common to see the beard a little higher right there and a little lower here, because this part is aiming down toward the chin and this part's coming down from the lip. So we're looking at that sort of little edit there. And we're being nitpicky. It depends how much time you want to spend on this. Showing that like parts of the ends is getting a little thinner. You've got some
Wispy.
half thickness hair there. And a little of the neck may be visible.
So portraits it looks like we're picking on, the little space over here by the nose. These little spaces under the lips, like we're nitpicking you. But on a portrait, everything counts.
Yes.
Because there's so many small plane changes that if there's like too many things that are off, it breaks the whole face. So it's really critical to pay attention to all those small things on a human face.
Okay, now on the character, we already mentioned the overall proportion, but we need to bring this up. Again, we're not trying to be nitpicky, but we're going to note things to you that a potential art director reviewing this would note and possibly use as a reason to pass over the portfolio. All right? We're establishing a perspective of this coming this way, okay. This way, we got this lean, but then this kind of starts going horizontal, and then this is kind of leaning that way, and then the shoulders kind of go the other way. So it's like we're looking down on this, but we're kind of looking up on this. But it's
we're
clear
not
that
looking up at the head.
But we're not looking up at the head, so it's clear that we are looking down on the head, which means that an edit that we need to see that would bring everything more cohesive is that these shoulders need to be at about the same alignment as these. Not as much as the feet.
And the straps as well.
Yeah. These need to be at the same alignment. Those need to be at that same alignment. And right now, they're kind of getting off. Another thing is, got to be careful with the form here. We're looking at the body as an overall kind of spherical, spheroid, or cylinder, where this is right, and this should be your guide. These are essentially just straight. And that makes the body feel like it's flattening off through the chest. So instead, these need to be going curved around to get the barrel of the chest coming out and getting that volume, right? Okay. So that would be a suggestion there. The designs, there's always room to improve the designs. We're not going to talk about the designs because the designs are not the thing that's actually holding it up the most right now. So
yeah, it's these things.
Yeah.
The placement of the elements in the correct perspective, and mainly the faces. So spend some time, this is our advice to you, to actually make gains. Spend some time on those faces, on those portraits. Get feedback from the community. Do some portraits, put them in the Discord, and spend some time on them. Don't just do one or two. Like 1010 said, 100. And it's not that bad.
No.
Clint and I have been doing 100 studies of figures. You're doing portraits now?
No, I'm going to be starting torsos and portraits soon.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is just even practice we keep doing to improve. And it doesn't take that long if you're not doing full scenes or you're not doing these bigger projects, if you're just focusing on that area of study.
Okay. Well, we hope that is helpful to you and everybody else too.
Sorry for taking 2 hours on the stream. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they want to ask? Is anyone still watching? I don't know.
Well, we still got 43 people here.
Thanks.
And we appreciate you hanging with us. We will take a couple extra minutes if people have questions they would like to get answered. I'll just, trying to make our thing bigger, but it dragged it.
Oh, there we go.
So again, you're welcome to sit in your portfolio. It's completely free. You can do that out on Swatches Discord. It'll send you over to the correct Discord channel.
Go to swatchesdiscord.com directly. Let's see if we get any comments.
So you are both the best. Well, thank you. That is very kind to say.
That is very sweet of you to say. I don't know if that's objectively true, but we appreciate the compliment.
That's probably true. If he says it, it's probably true.
Thank you. We had a great time, and also just want to thank everybody that submitted their work and put themselves out there. We know it's not easy to get feedback on your stuff, especially on public or in a public forum, in a public place. So anyone that did that is brave, and like seriously, I'm not being I'm not giving you a pat on the head or anything, but it's legitimately a hard thing to do, and so you deserve credit for putting yourself out there, getting information that you need to improve. We hope that what we said was helpful and constructive. That was our goal. And like Clint mentioned, the community is so helpful, and there's so much information there. We really recommend joining it. Of course, Discord it's free. Spend some time in there looking at other people's reviews, looking at the challenges stuff down here. There's a lot of good material in there. And if you have technical questions, the community is always happy to help. We answer as much as we possibly can. We're pretty booked sometimes, so we can't. But we try to participate as much as we can. But yeah, there's a lot of great artists in this Discord, like professionals, semi-pros, students, just really great people. We recommend joining it and becoming part of the community, getting to know people there.
Yep. All right, well, I don't see any questions, so we're going to just wrap it up there. Thanks again, and we'll catch you either next week or 2 weeks probably.
Yeah, so see you in the next one.
All right, take care, everybody.